Test, 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 test. Hear anything? Nope.
Presentation by our Chief Financial Officer, Anna Dodge. So Anna, if you come up, after she makes her presentation, we will have an opportunity for the public to comment. So Anna, the floor is yours.
Good evening, board. Good evening, guests. So I want to start by saying that this was a bill that was passed at the state level by a statewide referendum, not the local level, but statewide. This is some information regarding the fact that it was introduced in this last legislative session and that the governor signed it, and then it was put on the ballot in November, and again, it was voted statewide at a little almost 63% approval. The next two or three slides really is just an overview, some information regarding the bill and each section that bill is in reference to. This first one is really just procedural changes, and that it has a lot to do and impacts the tax assessor and the tax commissioner's office. It's regarding the information that is on your tax assessment notice. So that part of the bill is not something that we would or could opt out of, and that is not part of our reasoning for opting out. This will be something that will be changed again on the assessment notices that you receive from your tax assessor. And this second part, this is the piece that really impacts us and impacts the school system and what we're requesting or recommending that we opt out of. It's the floating homestead exemption. And so basically what is going to happen is that the state revenue commissioner is going to determine a percentage. He has the authority to determine that percentage that caps how much your property value can increase year over year. Again, that's controlled at the state and determined at the state level, and we do not have a say or input on how that cap is determined. Then part 3 is related to local option sales tax, and this is basically limiting the number of local option sales tax that each municipality can approve and have in place for their taxing district. It also is providing approval for local municipalities to implement or to put on the ballot an additional sales tax to offset the loss in revenue from House Bill 581. The big, I guess, issue with school systems is that we're not included in that. So we would not benefit from those sales taxes. Those would be divided between the cities and the counties. We would not be able to recoup any lost revenue from that sales tax. So there are several reasons why we're recommending this opt-out. First of all, I want to say that it's a pretty complicated bill, and as organizations have been going through it and analyzing it, they have determined that they need to introduce additional legislation in this upcoming session to clean up a lot of pieces of this bill. Yet we've got to make a decision now to opt in or out, because if we don't, we are in for the next 50 years. So this is a one and done opportunity to opt out, and we want to do this so that we can keep that control at the local level, and we can make decisions about our significant revenue source based on what is needed in our county, in our school system. The second thing I want to point out is that this legislation, this bill, does not impact the senior exemptions. Has no impact on that whatsoever. So the senior exemptions are still in place. This will not impact it, doesn't have anything to do with them. There will still be a freeze on the assessment values and the increases for the exemption amounts for the age ranges. Are there any questions? Yes.
You mentioned the senior exemption.
Mm-hmm.
Could you briefly go over those?
Absolutely. So there's House Bill 1003.
No, I mean, what was passed by...
Right, yes. So House Bill 1003 is the first bill that was passed, and that is the one where it freezes your values. So once you are approved for that exemption, which all seniors need to apply for it, if you're approved for that, then it freezes it based on the previous taxing year, your value of the previous year.
So the tax year would be 2025.
No, well, that's when it would go into place, but it would be based on 2024's values. If you were 62 or older, yes.
Okay.
So it freezes your, that's the first piece of it. The second bill is where it increases each of the exemption amounts. So it increases at age 62 from 10,000 to 40,000, age 65 from 50,000 to 75,000, and age 70, 50 to 125,000.
But that will be frozen based on 2024.
If you're eligible.
I am.
That's a determination that we made by the tax commissioner and the information that's submitted.
Now, a question my friends have, do we have to reapply our homestead exemption?
Once you're, well, you have to apply now because these are new. So once you're granted, now, once you apply and you're eligible or eligibility is determined, then you do not have to reapply every year. It will be in effect until the property changes hands.
But anybody that's getting it today, at some level, should go in and sit down with them and reapply?
Yes, because it's two completely new bills. Absolutely. Yes, if you're eligible as of January 1, 2025, and you are granted those two exemptions and eligibility is granted, then your value will be frozen at the 2024 tax year value. Correct. That is correct. If you've applied and you've been awarded, and you applied for those two new exemptions, and that's what you were awarded, then you're correct. You do not need to do anything else. But I mean, if you're concerned about that, I would reach out to the tax commissioner to have that confirmed, because they determine that. Right, and you have until April 1 to go and apply for those exemptions.
So you're saying that if y'all opt out of Jackson County Board of Education, it has no effect on that particular?
No, ma'am, not at all. Oh, who's, yes, sir. No, you need to reapply. It needs to be, you need to reapply because these exemptions did not go into effect until January 1 of this year. So, and they're brand new, so they're new exemptions, so you need to go reapply, yes. But you won't have to, once you're approved, you will not have to do it again for that property as long as you're there.
With reference to the particular property, when we get the statements, the estimates, et cetera, there's two pieces, structure and land. Will you keep your hands off the land also?
I don't determine that. You'll have to talk to the assessor and the tax commissioner about that.
But the bill says, based on what I read, this assessment comes to us in a form.
Are you talking about House Bill 581?
And I'm talking about what we get, our tax notice.
Your assessment notice.
Yes, it has two pieces of information. Now, I've seen people with land value 1 year of 10,000. The next year, their land value is 40,000. So, none of this can the assessor?
Yes, the values of property is all determined by the tax assessor's office. We do not determine value of property, how it's valued, what piece and what building or what structure is valued in what way. We don't determine any of that. We get the values and then we assess the millage rate based on those values. Yes, sir.
Maybe in the minority here, that's okay. Not a senior question. I'm happy that seniors got their, they able to have their property values frozen and they have their age brackets. And the board allowed that to go forward. That's cool. But my question is, House Bill 581 would seem to do the same for the rest of us as far as freezing the values and holding that. And my question as someone who's working my way to being a senior citizen, but not there yet. I'm sure I'll be there before I know it, but as someone that does not have a child in Jackson county school system, but resides in the county, never has had a child in the school system, I feel like I have a lot of the same arguments, if you want to use that word, as our seniors do.
Right.
Why should I support and pay? And now the board has the opportunity to extend it to people like me. And it's not that you're going to quit taking the property tax. You're still going to take a property tax. You're just not going to be able to raise it on me every year as much as you want to. And I wonder if you could speak to a little bit about why we're going to exempt one class of people, but not another, for freezing the values when, as I understand the law, maybe I misunderstand it, but House Bill 581 would allow you to still raise, but it would be on the new growth in the county, not the people who live here currently. And so I'm a little confused with why we're extending it to one group or class of people, but not another. And I didn't know if maybe I could speak to that or follow up on that.
So the senior exemptions are controlled by us. We made those recommendations on the amounts, what was involved in that legislation. House Bill 581 is not. That was all determined at the state level. The pieces of it were determined at the state level. It will be maintained at the state level. So the state's going to be making decisions that impact us. And it's not that it freezes your values. It just caps it at a certain percentage rate. And in the bill, it says inflation, but again, the commissioner of the revenue, the state revenue department gets to determine what that inflationary rate is. He can take a federal rate, combine it with a local inflationary rate, a combination of it, one or the other. They determine it at the state level rather than at a local level where we make decisions that help and support our system and our citizens.
What's wrong with the state making that determination for the entire state as opposed to local that, just continues to rise?
Because, so if we don't opt out of this now, there is no opportunity ever. So for the next, huh?
That's a good thing from what I said.
I mean, if you want the state to continue controlling and making decisions for your local area, then that's possible, but absolutely.
So one of my biggest concerns is that I want to keep all of our government as small and as local as possible. Where I stand and how I look at it is, if someone down at the Capitol, who, let's be honest, some of them haven't even read this bill. That's the truth. They are making decisions and setting rates for our county, and we're one of the fastest growing counties in the nation. Not just in the state, but in the nation. But our needs are going to be different here than the needs in a South Georgia, even smaller county, or in Fulton County. So for the state to come in and set that rate for us, to me, just seems kind of like they're overstepping their bounds, because some of them haven't even stepped in this county in order to move. That's kind of just a different perspective. That's what I have.
I understand that, but in your assessment that you're locked in, correct?
No.
So, with the exception of inflation. It go up, so I'm locked in on frozen except for inflation.
Correct.
So you can only go up the minimum amount on each year.
But what's that minimum amount?
You can always set your rate higher for new building people.
No. Millage rate the millage rate would apply to all property in the school system area. So,
House came in, you would have raised it at that time.
Right? Yes,
Not jacking my value up, but the growth that's coming to the county, they would be responsible for that.
that is true.
Why would we not want to do that?
Because we still have to generate the same amount of revenue. It has to be generated somehow. And so if the state is going to determine where our property tax value should be, then we're going to have to continually look at increasing millage rate to offset that. It's not like, the revenue we just don't need it anymore. Well, okay,
Thank you, Anna.
you're welcome.
This time, if any citizen want to address the board on this matter, each person is permitted up to 3 minutes. You can come to the podium. Must be a current resident of Jackson County to address the board. Each speaker should state their name, address, and topic. Generally, there will be no response to the board members to comments or questions posed by citizens during the meeting. All comments and questions will be considered and taken under advisement by the board. Members of the board are free to respond and make public comments if they choose to do so. So if some of you want to address the board, now is the time. Please make your way to the podium, and we can answer questions.
How you doing? So, Mike Sherritt, Jackson County. First of all, I apologize. I didn't mean to, I was just questioning. I thought I was talking to the board. You did a wonderful job presenting. I just had questions. But I'm just going to continue on what I had there. It seems like the board has an opportunity. They put in a waiver for our seniors, which I support. I'm glad we did that. But you have an opportunity now not to single out just one class, just the seniors. You have the opportunity to treat everybody in the county the same, equal, fair. Don't opt out. Allow this to come in. And if we have all this new growth that wants to come to the county, which some people think is good, some people think is bad. I don't have an opinion on that. But if we have all this new growth that wants to come to the county because they want this school system, they want to be here, then let them pay for it. That's what a tax is at the end of the day, right? You pay for something, you get a service. If they want to come here and they want the service, let them pay for it. Don't keep charging us, just like we exempted the seniors. And I have no problem with that. And you're not even exempting the rest of us. We're still paying. We're just capping what you can charge us up to the inflation rate set by the state. So I ask that you consider that. Again, I realize I'm probably the minority here. And again, I apologize to the young lady over there. Wasn't trying to be aggressive. I thank you so much for doing this. I thank all of y'all for doing this tonight. Y'all are in a tough position, I get it. But I appreciate y'all's time, and thank y'all for considering that.
I do have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to be clear, because obviously we're all going to have to make this decision. Okay, sorry. Mic, that's okay. Is that working or not? Oh, okay, sorry. Thank you. I just want to be clear, because we have to make this decision. Are you stating that you would prefer us just go ahead and opt in and let it cap at the inflation rate, and then we have to make up that resource somewhere. We have the revenue somewhere. So you would rather us raise the millage rate instead of trying to lower it continuously and opting out?
That would be fair for everyone, would not?
So that's
Yes,
what
ma'am.
you would prefer?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
If applicable, and to answer further on that, the millage rate is responsible by you, the board, who sets it, correct? So that makes you even more responsible to the taxpayer. Right, wrong, or indifferent. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Dick Crosby, Meadow Creek Farms, Jefferson, Georgia. I thank the board for the senior exemption situation that we got approved. So, Dr. Brown, your efforts in that, we appreciate all you've done for us. And I share this young man's concern over here because perception is reality. And the perception is, look at all these people moving into Jackson County. And there's a lot of them, right? How do we reassess what's happening with all these new subdivisions? If you take a ride from here to my house, you'll pass multiple subdivisions, multiple building areas, that homes will start at 400 plus. You can hardly buy an outhouse for 200 anymore. It becomes a real problem. So my point is, they're more expensive. Tax assessments will be appropriately according to state. I understand that because the state has guidelines as to how they can assess our properties. But by freezing it, then people that own their property, I think, are better protected. So that makes sense. But there's so much growth and building. Who is doing the study for 3 years out, 5 years out, 10 years out, to figure out what it's going to look like then? Because somebody's missing the boat, I think, along the way in an effort to determine the amount of revenue you'll be getting from these homes. Now, should the worst happen, like 2007, boy, we're in deep sneakers then. So I just caution people, those out there see all the building going on. When that tax assessment comes out in April or May, whenever they send it out, people are going to be saying, what in the world is going on with my taxes? Now, I won't be because mine's frozen, okay? And I'm getting the new benefit. But I appreciate it if people would look at it from the growth and the revenue flow aspect. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Crosby. Anyone else like to speak? All right, at this time, we're going to close the public hearing on House Bill 581. There will be 2 more hearings, Monday, 8:30 a.m. in this room, and then Monday evening at 5:30 in the Empower Center auditorium, if you would like to attend those. Those are the next 2 public hearings. Also, any of you would like to talk to our board members individually, you may do so after the meeting or call us. We're all available. That's what we're here for. This time, I'd like to call the January 9th, 2025 meeting, work session of the Jackson County Board of Education to order. Dr. Brown, your comments.
Good evening, board. Thank you guys for attending. Hope everyone is doing well. I think we made a few people happy today with our notice that school is canceled tomorrow. I know I had a couple of emails from students asking me to cancel school, and I appreciate their meteorology report. One of those happened to be my own son. And so, yeah, I think Mr. Hollett's son. So we appreciate our students advocating for what they would like to see happen. We see it happen with our students. We see it happen with adults today, so awesome. I want to say congratulations to North Jackson Elementary School and Maysville Elementary School. Those two schools were named Title I Reward Schools, which puts them in the top 5% of all Title I schools around the state. So congratulations to those two schools. Also want to say, Board, we have a couple of things to make sure that we get approved on Monday night. One of those is the Code of Ethics approval, which we approve every year. The second I want to remind you about is the Star Student and Teacher Banquet and Teacher of the Year Banquet at the Jefferson Civic Center on Monday, February 24th at 6 p.m. So that concludes my comments this evening. Dr. Hardigree in Teaching and Learning.
All right, well, good evening, everyone. Happy New Year. Good to see everyone. January through March is one of those times in teaching and learning. We have a great sense of urgency to get a whole lot done. So it's exciting times and just great to have everybody back and working on the work. I'm going to bring to you a little information about the CCRPI report this is actually previous year data. So all of the data that I'm going to tell you about, this is from the 23-24 school year, so we've already reported all of this, but as you know, the state does some calculations with that, and that was released just after our last board meeting it was released on December 6th, so this is our first opportunity to share this with you. The state has eliminated the single score that we used to get, so now it's just reporting on those 5 components. And so I'm going to go through each one of those components with you and just share some of the highlights because we have a lot to celebrate in this data, and it's very closely aligned to our strategic plan. So I'm also going to share the balanced scorecard with you and how we've redesigned that a little bit to really reflect the CCRPI indicators aligned to our strategic goals. So we'll start off with content mastery. Lots of great celebrations in content mastery. We improved in every grade band, in every school. And so this is just a celebration and very much affirming the work that we've been doing and really the hard work of our teachers and our leaders to really ensure high quality instruction in every classroom. As you know, we've done a lot of work with just really establishing the right resources and some common assessments, and I think that work is paying off, and our students are working hard, and our teachers and leaders as well, as I mentioned. So some highlights here with content mastery. We had increases, like I said, in all grade bands, had some really significant increases in middle school, gains in ELA and math, a really significant increase really at high school across the board, but U.S. history, if you see that social studies score, just really increased greatly. So as I said, we've really already looked at this data, but it's just important to really think about the progress that we're making with content mastery, because that just means our students are learning at a higher level. And of course, that's what we all want to see. Progress really focuses on growth, and that's students' growth from one year to the next and moving up in those bands of performance. So we refer to this as the SGP, the student growth percentile. We had gains here as well. A pretty significant increase in middle and high school, and elementary really held steady, actually had just a little decrease here, so increase in student achievement, but just a little decrease in growth, so something that we're always looking at there to continue to increase. And then I'll move on to closing the gaps. This is where we focus in on our subgroup performance. So we want to make sure that all student groups are really continuing to achieve at a high level. So the closing the gap score on the CCRPI really looks specifically at our subgroup population. So looking at our students with disabilities, our ESOL students, economically disadvantaged, there's a whole list of flags. And I'm going to show you where you can go and see all of this. It is public facing, so the public has access to all of this information. And so they set targets, and then we achieve certain flags there. So it helps us to really stay focused on making sure that we're meeting the needs of all of our students. So you can see our scores there with 75 for elementary. Middle, there was a little dip there, and high school is strong as well. So that's just work that we continue to do to make sure that we're continually monitoring that data and ensuring a high level of instruction and support. And then we have our readiness component. This is a little different for elementary and middle school has 3 indicators here, whereas high school has a few additional ones. So we'll look at elementary and middle first. This takes into account the literacy, the Lexile level of our students. So we talk about on-grade level reading status. And so that's just a huge focus for us right now, and continues to be, always has been, but really something that we're looking to continue to look at all angles of how can we even support this from birth. We've talked about our First Reader initiative and how are we really getting our kids ready. So readiness is one of the 3 strategic kind of priorities within our plan, our strategic plan, and something that we're really looking at from a really birth through the time that students leave us. How are we making sure that all of our efforts increase that literacy level? And then student attendance is also one of the components of this indicator for CCRPI, something, again, that we're monitoring and very much focused on. And it kind of falls within our strategic plan under engagement, because we know that when students want to be at school, that's just a big piece of that attendance work there that we're doing. And then beyond the core, that's just ensuring that all of our students have access to those fine arts courses at the elementary and middle level. So these scores continue to stay strong. There was a slight increase here with readiness, and just something that, like I mentioned, we're continue to work on, but really we have pretty strong scores on CCRPI for readiness for elementary and middle school. And then for high school, all 3 of those indicators exist, but we add on the accelerated enrollment with students earning a credit for AP, IB, or dual enrollment. We add on pathway completion there, and then the readiness component. As you know, we have a district-wide assessment day. We've added in the ASVAB test. That's one of the additional pieces that can gain the points there for this readiness indicator. So really looking at all of the different ways that we might assess that our students are ready for college and career. And then the final piece there is just with graduation rate. And as we all know, this has been a huge celebration for us with the highest graduation rate in the district's history, gaining a little over 1.2 from last year, but just continuing to stay strong and continuing to increase. And we know that that's that pre-K through 12th grade initiative that we all pour into to make sure that that continues to stay strong. So there's a lot to be proud of, I think, in this data, and just, anytime something's out there for the public, we want to understand those different components. But it really does, I think, aligning now our balanced scorecard to it, it helps us to really keep our eye on all of these pieces. So I just wanted to, since we hadn't shared this back with you since we reworked it during our strategic planning process, I wanted to share with you what that looks like aligned to the CCRPI. So as you know, we have those 3 areas with content mastery, engagement, and readiness. And as you can see, we've now completed all of these kind of pieces of our balanced scorecard for teaching and learning. Most of them align to an indicator that I just mentioned. So the first kind of portion of the balanced scorecard is content mastery. So I just kind of walked you through that. And you can see where this past year's CCRPI data, that now is the new baseline for us on our balanced scorecard. So we have set targets for ourselves based on where we are and where we want to continue to grow, anywhere from usually 3 to 5% there. And then the next piece, if you kind of, and I know this is small, so I'm just going to kind of quickly kind of show you how we've aligned that, but then we go on to the readiness piece with reading status within that content mastery, and then we have the subgroup performance that I just mentioned. The middle section within our balanced scorecard really refers to engagement. And so we've added in a few pieces there, like our classroom observations. And we thought, what better way to really evaluate engagement than to be in classrooms and see what's going on. So we've added in the Elliott observations that we're doing for Cognia. That's now a piece of our balanced scorecard. And it helps us to really keep a pulse on just what are those trends that we're seeing across the district and instruction, and how can we design our professional learning to continue to increase that. And then in the last section of the balanced scorecard, we get into that college and career readiness. So underneath there, we have graduation rate, the readiness scores, and things like students passing, and of course, pathway assessments, and the overall pathway indicators, AP, IB, and dual enrollment. So that's a pretty quick overview of the balanced scorecard. I'm glad to answer any questions that you may have about that. There's a lot of numbers on there, but I just wanted for you to see how we have realigned that to our strategic plan and also the CCRPI indicators. Any questions for me about those pieces? All right. The next part of our teaching and learning update, I'm going to invite my team to come join me. We've had a great team working on adopting or recommending for your approval a new health and safety curriculum. Let me get on to the next. There we go. Oops, I'm going the wrong way. There we go. All right, so let me share, we've, like I mentioned, have a great team here, so we've kind of joined forces with student support and teaching and learning because this is curriculum, but it really impacts a lot having to do with our student support team here. So I appreciate this group joining me tonight to share how we've moved through this process with a team and a committee and kind of where we are in that process. So we have Ryan Paler, very highly esteemed counselor from South Jackson. Jamie Shadman also joined us in some of the work. She's not here tonight. We have Joni Powell here with us from Project Aware. Thank you to Rachel Duke, our social worker, for being here. Dr. Peacock has been a team player, as well as Lisa Ellis, who's out there. And then Nell Clemens has helped us. And we have Nick Gast. And I think that, did I get everybody? So lots of teamwork here to look at the pieces that we wanted to really kind of dig into. Anytime we are adopting something that is meeting the needs of kind of our K-12 population, and really we want to be very mindful of our community's thoughts and feelings on this too. So we're going to talk with you just kind of how we have moved through this process, how we've engaged the community and our parents and our students throughout this process, and really just the need for why we are at this point of wanting to recommend to you a couple of new options for our health and safety curriculum. So I'm going to turn it over to Rachel Duke to start us off and share a little bit about that.
Thank you, Dr. Hardegree. Hello, everyone. So legislature passed statutes that focus on student safety. SB 401, which is also called Aaron's Law, and HB 287, specifically Georgia Code 20-2-142, which is the Human Trafficking Education Law. So Aaron's Law requires schools to teach age-appropriate sexual abuse, assault awareness, and prevention education for students in grade levels K through 12. And HB 287 requires that students in grades 6 through 12 receive education on human trafficking awareness. So state BOE implemented statute 20-2-143, which set requirements that students in K through 9 receive annual prevention education on sexual abuse, assault awareness, and prevention. So Georgia DOE implemented Rule 160-4-2-.12, which requires that each local BOE provide annual instruction in Human 3 to require each local Board of Ed to prescribe a course of study for annual sex education and AIDS prevention instruction. So the grade levels will be determined by the state BOE. So Rule 160-4-2-.12 requires the state board to define the processes for the curriculum adoption. So it requires that each local BOE provide sex education and AIDS prevention instruction, and it also has materials for parental opt-out and like the review if they choose. So parents can opt out if they choose to. And it decides which topics must be included. And within those topics, abstinence and fidelity are required. And again, since Jackson County is a strategic waiver school system, we do have the flexibility how these requirements are applied. But again, the core standards must be followed. I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Joni Powell now.
Thank you, Rachel. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about the actual state requirements and dig down a little bit into the law and legislation a little bit more as to why we do these type of programs and curriculums in our schools. So the local BOE with state requirement 20-2-143, each grade level in the public school system has to be determined by the State Board of Education and cover standards. Basically what Rachel was talking about, just it being more conducive to the law. So it has to relate to peer pressure, the promotion of high self-esteem, local community values, the legal consequences of parenthood and abstinence from sexual activity as an effective method of prevention in pregnancy, sexually transmitted diseases, and the focus on HIV/AIDS. Grade levels in the public school system should also include instruction that includes human biology, that includes conception, birth, sexually transmitted diseases, again, the AIDS and HIV, what the consequences are of parenthood, and that includes, without being limited to, the possible suspension and revocation of driver's license, any occupational professional licensure, and the course shall include the age-appropriate sexual abuse and awareness for the education of students K through 9th grade. And there are other requirements under the SBOE rule that Rachel also referenced, 160-4-2-.12. For the purposes of what we're talking about today, we're focused on the disease prevention, personal health, the sex education, as well as the HIV/AIDS education, safety, and then the human growth and development. So again, looking at that rule that we just covered in those topics, that is again annual and it is required in K through 9. Rachel also talked about this. We are a waiver school, so we waive the requirement to provide education annually under our strategic waiver, and instead we agree to provide sexual education once in middle school and once while the children are in high school. And with that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Hardegree to talk about the formation of our committee.
All right, so this just shows you a little bit about our timeline, and I'm going to talk through how we formed that committee. So back in 2012, I believe it was, it's kind of small on there, but that was when we adopted the Flash curriculum previously. So it's been quite a while since we've reviewed this. So last fall, we started really looking at, let's just assess what's being taught, what is the consistency level, and we recognized through that it was time to really review this, dig into it, and look at other options, simply because we didn't have a lot of consistency with how it was being taught, and our curriculum, we had had it for a while, and we didn't feel like it completely met the needs of our community. It kind of went beyond those needs in some areas, so we were having to really go through those lessons a lot, and we felt like it was time just to look at what are other districts around us doing, what is our community saying that they really value in what our students are learning. So that's what we did. We put together a committee, and that committee includes, actually the state, I think I have this on the next slide, the state requires that we include certain people on that committee. So we opened it up to all of our Villa parents, because that gives us parents from all grade bands, all schools. So all of those parents had an option to come and join us for reviewing that curriculum. And you have the folders in front of you as well. We shared these with our parents. We had 2 students. We had a high school student from East Jackson and a high school student from Jackson County High School as well. And then Nell Clemens, our lead nurse, was with us. and this group that you see here with me as well. So we had a great group to really kind of dig into that and got a lot of insight as to what our parents value. And Nick's going to share that with you in just a minute, but I wanted just to kind of take you on through that timeline here. So where we are right now is really we've formed that committee, we've dug into, looked at a lot of different options of curriculums, then we took that recommendation to the committee, got feedback, had great table talk and discussion, really looking at the sample lessons, and now we're at the point where we want to bring that to you, share that with you, and allow you to hear a little bit more about the two options that really emerged as kind of the clear recommendations from that group, and then to answer any questions that you may have about that.
Yeah, so as Dr. Hardigree mentioned, it was really important to our committee that we got feedback from our community, not only from the parents in the community, but also students. And so we had students from both the east and the west side. And again, the members of our Villa group were there with us. As Dr. Hardigree said, we really dug in and went through some of the sample lessons, looked at the curriculum and what it was all about, and then really took some time to allow those parents and students to give us some feedback on what they saw and what they liked. And as you can see on the slide here, all the feedback was really positive. We gave parents and students a chance to give feedback that evening, and then also if they weren't comfortable doing it in the group setting, they had the opportunity to email or contact us after the fact. All the feedback was really positive, and the parents were definitely in support of adopting this curriculum, and I think they were really excited that they got the opportunity to be a part of that, and they were thankful for that. So that was a really good experience that evening.
All right. My name is Ryan Paler. I'm a school counselor at South Jackson Elementary School. It's a pleasure to be with you this evening. One of the curriculums that emerged at the very top that we looked at as a collaborative effort with our school counselors in the elementary level is called the Monica Burr Foundation for Children Child Safety Matters comprehensive curriculum. This one really rose to the top based on its evidence-based curriculum for our elementary students. And using best practices in current research on how to protect our students through traumatic events that could possibly happen to them throughout their life. Some of the program topics that will be covered through the curriculum are listed in front of you. We provided the samples for the curriculum for parents to read through. They are developmentally appropriate for each grade level to make sure that it is easy for the students to understand. Some highlights that we had noted in this adoption for this program was that it was approved and recommended by the creator of Aaron's Law herself, so came as very highly regarded. When the DOE, when they passed this law, they provided a technical assistant resource guide for schools to follow and provided some resources for us to use and programs to look at to possibly adopt. And this program, specifically Child Safety Matters, was one of those. Another connection that we highlighted as well was the connection with Darkness to Light, which if you have been in Jackson County for a while, that is our community effort to provide sexual abuse awareness to our community members, our agencies. I personally have been trained. That was an initiative led by Ms. Linda Foster through Jackson County Family Connection, if you're familiar. So we really appreciated that connection into our community. Some other highlights are our parent resources, providing information and reinforcement materials for our parents so they are aware of what is being taught and how they can also support those learning objectives to our students. And also provide them with the opportunity to come in and read over the curriculum and ask questions as they need to. And as we were coming together as a whole group for our middle and high school counselors, they also looked at adopting a curriculum. And there was some comfort in knowing that when they came to us, they also chose the same program, but for their grade levels. And that's called the Teen Safety Matters. So it goes a little bit more in depth, specifically when students are engaging in romantic relationships. So it does highlight the components of digital safety and physical emotional safety, and then specifically looking at what relationship abuse looks like. And it also covers the human trafficking aspect to that. There's also the ability to provide parents, again, with training so that they're also aware of what is being taught to their kids. And another highlight was the Gold Transparency Award that they had received because of the ongoing efforts to make sure that what they are doing is done with efficacy and that it is done with the highest level that they can. I think that's it.
Okay, board, I will wrap us up here. Oh, you got a clicker. Trying to find the clicker. Okay, so went too far. The last piece here is on that sex education, AIDS, HIV education side, and so the curriculum that the committee settled on is one called Choosing the Best. So it was recommended by that, we recommended it to the internal committee. They were happy with it. The things that stand out to me, the parents on that committee were happy with the conservative approach that the curriculum takes, and it heavily focuses on abstinence. That's the best way to avoid pregnancy and disease, but students also felt like there was enough practical information to help students make good choices and keep themselves safe. We also got good feedback from our health teachers. Several of our surrounding districts are already using this curriculum and have for several years, and for that reason, some of our health teachers who have moved to us from those districts, they've taught with it in the past. When we shared it as an option, they said, yeah, that's really great. It really is effective, and we are comfortable with it, and so they were excited about bringing that in. And we'll have our health design team really nail down exactly how it will be implemented at particular grade levels. Like was mentioned earlier, we'll be hitting one grade level in middle, and then hitting the 9th grade personal fitness course in high school. And of course, when you look at the curriculum, it's age, what you might present to 7th graders is going to be different than what you're going to present to 9th graders to do that in an age appropriate way. This is kind of highlighting that there are actually 4 pieces to the curriculum that are aligned to the different grade levels, and that's what we'll have our design teams look at and make decisions about exactly how that will be implemented. The last thing to just reiterate about both curriculums, these are important topics, but they're also sensitive, and sometimes parents want to handle those conversations on their own, and so with both these cases, there's notification to parents, there's an opportunity for them to opt their students out of these lessons, and the curriculums will be available in the school for the parent to come and look through every piece of it and make sure that they're comfortable or to make a decision to opt out. So with that, we will open it up to see if the board has any questions.
The opt-out information, that is shared individually with each parent?
That's right. It'll be shared. I imagine we'll do that through Parent Square. And before these lessons would occur, well before the lessons would occur, there'll be individual communication to those parents, and then there'll be an overview of the curriculum provided, and then they'll have the opportunity, like I said, to come into the school and look at everything if they'd like, and then they can make that decision whether to have their student participate or not.
I want to commend you, Dr. Hardigree, and your team. This is a lot of work and to apply with state law, and it's a very important subject, and I think it's very comprehensive. So good work to all of you.
Thank you.
We appreciate that.
All right, thank you again. Thank you for taking the time to review that, and thank you to the team for working on that together.
All right, good evening and Happy New Year. I have just a few updates tonight from our HR department. Before I jump into the slides, I wanted you to know our letters of intent were distributed and were returned right before we left for the holiday. So on the personnel reports, you're going to start seeing some of our retirements, and we'll look forward to celebrating those individuals as we wind down the school year. Our department is gearing up for contract season. And so you will start to see a lot of hiring, and we will be excited to share with you our recruitment plans coming up. And speaking of recruiting and retention, I did want to share with you the data that we have from our recent open enrollment. That open enrollment period was in October and November for our employees to select their different options that they wanted for benefits. Those took effect January 1st. And it's so important, I think, Board, that you understand that we do offer that comprehensive benefit package for our employees. That is a critical role in not only attracting employees to our district, but retaining employees as well. So I wanted to take just a little bit of time and share with you that the number of certified staff electing to participate in our state health benefit plan is holding steady. Over the past 3 years, it's been around 80%. So this number is in line with what we've seen. The number of classified staff electing to participate has declined a little bit from last year. We had 73%, and this year we're at 65%, but that is not a negative thing, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. We're okay to see that number go down just a little bit. State Health offers a range of options for our employees. The cost per month for an employee ranges anywhere from $72 a month to $650 a month, with a lot of options in between. It just depends on what kind of plan they want, how many dependents they need to cover, but they have a lot of choices to make, and that's very important. The average cost for our employee a month, if they have a spouse or maybe one child, it's about $300 a month. And based on the averages across the state and the nation, that's pretty in line. So we feel very good about the options that are being offered to our employees. But as you are aware, the cost for us and for the board to provide these benefits is increasing and has increased over the past 3 years. We're reimbursed from the state for our certified staff costs, but we are not reimbursed for our classified staff. And that's why I told you that that number we saw in a decrease isn't necessarily a bad thing. For 2025, we're anticipating the cost of our classified insurance to be around $7.5 million. So it's a big budget impact that we have to make sure we consider. They have increased the cost, and it is my understanding that the state is looking to get those two bar graphs even. So we are planning ahead and thinking ahead as we budget, as we allocate personnel, to make sure we're still being fiscally responsible when it comes to our employees and the benefits that we offer, but also to ensure we're offering them good options and the best options that we can for them to be able to take care of their families and have that coverage for health insurance and supplemental. State Health is the only insurance option available to take into retirement, and I think that's a big, important thing to consider. And so any of our people who are going to retire, who are vested in those programs, they can take this insurance with them. So it's a huge benefit there. One of the things that we do offer is our shared savings program. So our classified staff who might have been getting state health in the past, but they have options available to them. Maybe their spouse has insurance. Maybe they're still one of those young employees that are on their parents' insurance. And if they opt to stay, to take the insurance that's available to them through another means, we have a shared savings plan that we offer them a financial incentive to do that. And so we will offer them 2 payments in December and at the end of the year if they choose to opt out. So they had it and they're going to choose not to have it anymore, our classified staff. That's saving the district about $675,000. We had an increase in participation in that this year. We saw 34 employees last year participating, and that number's up to 45 this year. So that was exciting, and that increase in savings was huge. In addition to the state health, we offer a wide variety of supplemental benefits, and you can see that over 60% of our employees participate in those supplemental benefits. These benefits do not cost the district anything. The only supplemental benefit that costs our district is the board-paid life insurance policy that we offer all of our employees, and that is at a cost of $17 per employee per year. So it is not a huge expense, but it is something that is much appreciated and much needed in terms of helping our employees have that financial stability. Vision, dental, and that supplemental life continue to be the options that most of our employees are the most interested in. And last year, we had our focus group where we brought together a variety of employees and asked them, what do you want to see? What do we have? What are we offering? What are we not offering? And we added last year the legal insurance and identity theft based on that focus group, and that participation doubled this year. So that obviously is a sign that that was something that was needed, and we were very pleased to be able to offer that. These ladies are going to be really mad at me that I've put their picture up here. But it's so important for me, for you to see the faces behind the work. I get to stand up here and tell you about it, but it was really these two ladies who, in my experience as an HR professional, are the most customer service oriented benefits professionals I have ever encountered. They really truly care about our employees. They take the time to have one-on-one meetings with them to make sure they understand the benefits, to help them lay out options. They reach out to those people who might be eligible for the shared savings and let them know about it. These ladies are amazing. And I just thought it's very important that you know that, and that how blessed we are to have them. And I get to share all of the hard work that they did over the past few months, but all kudos go to them and how much they support our employees. Any questions? Thank you so much.
Evening Board, part of that customer service they provide is reminding the PR guy that the Flex card he had last year, it's the same card for this year. I learned that today, so thank you to Shannon for clarifying. Just a couple things tonight. The first thing is we'll require a vote for you on Monday night. We're proposing, in conjunction with Principal Joshua Todd and the staff at Gum Springs Elementary, to name the gymnasium floor Heather Backer Court. As you know, Ms. Backer was an original staff member at Gum Springs Elementary School, serving as a physical education teacher and a coach within our community, and passed away in September from a fight with cancer. So we believe naming the court in honor of her, a place that she started, is a small token that we can do to carry on her memory. Of course, she was inducted in the Jackson County High School Athletic Hall of Fame earlier this year as well. And so we went to Gum Springs today. We looked at the court, modeling it a little bit after what's in Rabun County, as well as they named their court. And so we have next thing attached to that is a small little rendering what it looked like. We did obtain Ms. Backer's signature. We're working with an artist to clean that up, so it'll be on there. So this is kind of just a court I pulled off of Canva, but that's kind of the location it'll be at Gum Springs. You can see where the stage is and where that'll be. We're looking at about 8 feet long. Signature on the court there at Gum Springs. So again, that'll require your vote Monday night, and once that is approved, we'll move forward with getting that done. They are about to seal that floor, so it's a perfect time to do that. We've kind of pushed that back to make sure this vote happens, and we can make that happen. Next thing tonight, the final thing for me is Saturday, January 25th is our JCSS Choose Jackson Career Fair. This will be our third one that I've been part of, and be held inside the Student Center at Empower from 9 a.m. to 12. Principals from every school will be there, department leaders from facilities and maintenance, transportation, school food nutrition, custodial staff, technology will be there, special education to answer questions for our community about current openings we have, but also those openings that we have coming up for the 25-26 school year. If certified people come in, they can be interviewed right there on the spot by principals. Last year we had people from Virginia come down, and so we've done some social media marketing through this, and we've had a lot of people messaging on Facebook and liking it and sharing it. So we expect a massive turnout for this, probably the biggest one we've ever had, and so it's an exciting time for people who want to be part of our school system. And of course, that AJC workplace, top workplace, is certainly going to help people understand the culture that we have here in Jackson County. So, any questions? All right. Thank you, board.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for giving me a few moments to share a few thoughts. We wanted to give you an enrollment update. And just looking at that, see if we can go back here. We are looking at 11,292 students as of this week, which is similar to where we ended the first semester. And that is an increase, folks, of 509 students from the beginning of the school year. So we are still in a mode of growth, and I do not see that necessarily slowing down or ending at any time soon. So just to let you know, we're still growing. And the school with the most growth at this point in the year over last year is Jackson County, with 122 students added from their number last year at this time. So growing quite a bit. Any questions on enrollment? I think Martha said that we lost 65 and gained 65 just in over the course of the break. So that's kind of how that plays out. Looking at just a quick activities update for you. And you know that there are just dozens and dozens of clubs and activities happening at each of our schools. So grateful for the efforts of our staff to work with our students in areas of interest. But some things we wanted to highlight currently athletically at our high schools and middle schools. We have girls and boys basketball happening, swimming and diving for both boys and girls, wrestling for both boys and girls, dance and esports all happening, with spring sports also getting underway this month. And so we're going to see the beginning of baseball, in esports spring season, girls and boys golf, girls and boys lacrosse at Jackson County High School, soccer for both boys and girls, tennis for boys and girls, and track and field as well. So we've got all those things either underway or getting ready to go. It is a very busy time at our schools in terms of athletics. Looking at just a few highlights to share with you. East Jackson, right now, they're in the middle of basketball, heading with Stevens County coming up this week. The wrestling team yesterday earned their spot in the state tournament next week. So we're excited for them. And the duals part, they'll do the individuals after that, but the dual team, it's the first time that's happened for them, I believe. Swimming and diving, they're continuing to improve. Multiple school records are being broken by the swimming and diving team at East Jackson. The dance team will be competing January 11th at Whitewater. Esports made the Sweet 16 in Super Smash Brothers. And our choral group, as usual at East Jackson, is just absolutely amazing, with 21 students advancing to the second round of the All-State Chorus selection process right now. So we're excited for how they'll continue to impress. Moving on to Jackson County High School, just some highlights from them. Basketball team right now, 12-6 overall. They're undefeated in region. And we're excited for the progress that team is making. The boys are very competitive in one of the toughest regions in the state right now. The wrestling team at Jackson County is competing tonight for hopefully a spot in the state duels. They're up at Habersham County. And the girls are also competing tonight for hopefully a spot in state as well at home. So that's happening right now at Jackson County High School. They moved that up to avoid maybe some of the white stuff here tomorrow and Saturday. Swimming and diving at Jackson County, close to qualifying in every event for the state swim meet this year. Freshman Alyssa Pace is the first athlete in school history to qualify for the state in diving. So we'd had several swimmers who had made state before, but we've actually got a diver at Jackson County this year, so they're excited about that. Dancing, Jackson County has their first competition coming up on January 18th. The Heartstone team made the semifinals in the league for esports, and 3 students from Jackson County have made the second round of all-state auditions, with 13 students making the District 14 Corral LGPE in March. So a lot of good things happening there as well. East Jackson Middle School, you can see the boys are getting ready for the competition at the conference tournament, and they finished 6-2, and they'll have a home playoff game coming up, with wrestling also having a great season with and that wrestling program at East Jackson. A few years ago, folks, they had 5 kids. It's a completely different situation there with Coach Patton now and what he's done in the middle school as well. They're really competing well. And swimming and diving, of course, at the middle school level, also doing well, placing at East Jackson. Our Legacy and Old kiddos, the basketball team is in the playoff run. I think they got the number 2 seed, and they'll be in the playoffs. The girls will be the 6th seed. Wrestling is doing a great job there, feeding into Jackson County, and their swimming diving team is undefeated in their competitions. Lots of personal records being set. Same thing is happening at West Middle. Basketball, getting ready for playoffs for both girls and boys. The wrestling team has had multiple first place finishes and has done very well. The swimming diving is also undefeated, with lots of things happening there. And lastly, we don't want to leave out our Empower kids, because they're doing some really incredible things. The Skills USA, Jose Bolivar finished in the first place in his regional competition for Skills USA. our heavy equipment team, there was a 100% student pass rate on the state certification exam for that. Our healthcare kids, they had a 100% pass rate on their phlebotomy certification and a 90% pass rate on clinical medical assistant certification exam. Those are pretty impressive numbers there if you think about how difficult some of those exams can be. The agricultural kids, 84% of them had a pass rate on their precision metal fabrication, and entrepreneurship had a 90% pass rate on the National Occupational Competency Testing Institute exam, or NOCTI for short, right? Audiovisual group also not listed here, but they had a 93% pass rate on their film production. There's just great things happening in Jackson County. Our kids are absolutely amazing. You know this, but sometimes it's neat to hear some of their great accomplishments. That's not certainly all of them, but it is a nice sampling of what's happening, and I'll continue to bring those to you. Any questions about the things that are happening with our kiddos? Thank you for your time. Appreciate y'all.
Good evening. Got to see me again. I'm sorry. I'm going to make this quick, but it is some pretty amazing financial news that we have to present to you this evening. The first thing we'll look at is SPLOST, and you can see that except for the comparison to last month's collections, all other measurements are an increase year over year, and an increase compared to the 12-month average. So our SPLOST is looking good. We're starting to build a balance back up into that account now that we've paid off HEROES, and we're just going to get ready for the next big project. And then our financial report, you can see that our collections for property tax are at an amazing point. I talk about them and tout them often, but our tax commissioner's office has been phenomenal. They emailed me throughout the Christmas break, letting me know when they were sending money to us, and they have worked tirelessly to collect these funds for us and get them to us as quick as possible. So we are very, very, very grateful to them for everything that they do for us. And then if you want to look at the expenditures, you can see it's 1% less than where we are at this time of the year. And so both of those things, the collection of those property taxes and us being conservative with our expenditures, have put us in a position where we are ending this month with over $50 million in fund balance. So that is a little bit of an increase over the last couple of months. So I think it'll make y'all feel better and have much happier looks on your face when I present to you. So everything, we are looking really good at this point in the year. And with this and with projecting out the rest of the year, I think that we'll come very close to ending at $30 million in our ending fund balance, which was our goal and where we need to be as we start opening and constructing new facilities. And then if you want to look at the comparison, you can see compared to last year where we are. And again, that's kudos to our tax commission's office and how quickly they were able to collect. The last time I talked to Candace, she was at 93% collections for 2024 at the end of December. So extremely amazing. Yeah, so we're in a great place. Any questions? One time, one amount. Yep, and we've already paid back those funds. Yes. Yep. One draw, and it's all paid off now. Yeah. Any questions? Thank you.
Board, thank you for the opportunity. We're getting closer to the end. I'm going to let Mr. Farmer come up and do his project updates, and he'll be followed by Mr. Peterson with some transportation updates. I think they'll be fairly brief. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Schofield. I have cut it down to about an hour tonight, so I'll be brief. But no, I appreciate it. Dr. Boyd Brown, always a pleasure to come and just update you on some of the things that we have been doing throughout the year and over the holiday. One of those, if we can go to the pictures, Maysville Elementary, the outdoor pavilion. This was completed, and I know that from talking to Dr. Warwick, they're excited in using that for an outdoor classroom and all the great things they have planned for student learning. Let's go to the next slide, please. East Jackson Middle School. Top is the band room, and you can see that the lighting, the flooring, the ceiling and the painting was done and complete, and it is amazing the transformation at this school that's taking place. We will continue that over the next breaks and throughout the summer. And below is just a typical classroom also. All right, next on the agenda, the demolition of the house next door to Heroes Elementary was also complete. Work on the concession stand and press box at Empower has been going on, and we are continuing that. The Empower Auto Lab, as you came in, I'm sure you saw the fencing up, and silt fence has been installed, job trailer, and we will continue to work on the renovation aspect of it. Fire systems will be worked on Saturdays, so we do not disrupt instruction throughout the week, and the gas line will also started boring on Saturdays and on the weekends. At one project that we have that has come back around and we've been discussing and talking about is the East Jackson Middle and West Jackson Middle cooler and freezers, and we will hopefully in the next couple of months we'll be coming to you with an RFP for a recommendation to move forward with that. Any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you, David. This happened because I told him to shorten it up. So a lot of great things in transportation. We're excited about where we're going, what we've completed and continue to do. We had the Department of Public Safety come out and do our annual the simulator. They brought it out. We had some wonderful members from our central office get in the bus simulator. I think I'm getting some more buses because they realize it's not as easy. There are some that will never drive a bus, no matter how hard they ask. But it was great. They bring it out to your school systems free of charge. And it's just a great thing to get everybody together. We also had an annual transportation public safety bus inspection the week of December the 2nd, and all buses passed, which is always a plus. We like to see that. Our mechanics do an exceptional job, as well as our drivers with their pre-trip and post-trip, which brings up the last one. The Department of Homeland Security, please don't freak out when you see that. They come out and they will do a pre-trip exercise to see how drivers are doing conducting their pre-trips to be safe. And I am excited to say we had an 85% pass rate compared to the state average of 40%. So they'll be coming out again, drivers don't know this yet, to see how we do the second go-round. Next slide. There we go. This year we have 119 regular ed routes and 30 special needs routes. Which is an increase from FY24. Next slide. There we go. So this school year, right now, we have on the elementary special needs route, we have 133 riders in the morning. Middle and high, we have 127. The midday special needs, we have 11. Midday, middle and high special needs, we have 55. And then PM elementary special needs, 130 students riding. And then middle and high special need routes, 123 for 579 special needs riders each day. That's on a daily basis. Next slide. And then FY24, we had roughly about 10,645 students on a day. And now we're at 11,170. That includes everything we run, regular ed, special ed, midday, the consistent after-school programs that we do. So we've seen an increase of 525 students per day over the last 2 years, and I'm going to continue to add to that each year I'm here. Next slide. So right now in the mornings for regular ed, we have a little over 2,200 riding in the mornings, 1,781 middle and high in the mornings. Midday, and this is our Empower routes, that's 461 students that we transport between the two high schools. PM elementary, 3,675, and then our PM middle and high totals are 2,471 for 10,591 students. That is per day. And again, that includes everything. Next slide. All right, one of the other things we implemented was our Transact tablets we had installed on our buses this year. Those tablets not only have the route information, which drivers cannot see, they can only hear, but our drivers also clock in and out on those tablets. So everything is digital. They sign it digitally. I sign it off on each one of them, and we've reduced timesheet hours by 35 hours a month by doing it this way, because it's done automatic, prints out automatic, payroll sees it throughout the month, so it's a steady process. So we've seen a reduction in the amount of time we're having to spend do that to be able to do other things to take care of our kiddos. Last slide. Do I have another slide? There we go. One of the other things on our Transact Transact software is we have seating charts that we do. Drivers bring them in, let us know where each child is sitting, and that's from a safety standpoint. Let's say the bus were to be in an accident, we don't want it, we know where a child is sitting on that bus. Also, if there's a sub on that bus, they know where their children are supposed to be sitting. So this is a lot of additional stuff that we can use technology-wise that keeps our kiddos safe every single day. Any other questions or any questions? Our last thing is with growth comes needs, and if continue to improve efficiency, our routing software, we do have an efficiency tab on that we can look at routes and see if we're running them the most efficient way possible. The new House bill that came out that 40 miles an hour or over, we don't cross. We follow that. On the state highways. We don't cross on any state highways. That is for safety. 3-tier routing is a possibility, but also with that comes additional routes and buses, which is we've increased over last year already. We put 10 new buses on the road already, and we're getting ready to hopefully order some more for next school year. Any questions for transportation? Yes, sir.
What's the average age of our school buses? If you take them all, do you have an idea?
Right now, the oldest buses I have running are 2019s, and then as we get, as the new ones come in, hopefully by the
break, put a lot of hours in, and we've got a lot to be proud of there. Thank you all.
This time, there's a need for executive session for personnel and real estate, so I entertain a motion to go into executive session. All in favor? Aye. We'll be back. Have a motion on personnel action. Hear a motion to approve. Here a second. All in favor? Also need a motion to approve our East Bluffs and bond referendum resolution. Here a second. Seconded by Ms. Mullins. All in favor? Aye. We are adjourned.